Hey, what's up, guys? It is Celeb back again for another review. This time around, we're here to review Monster Hunter Wilds, the highly anticipated next evolution of the award-winning Monster Hunter franchise. So speaking from someone that has not been a Monster Hunter fan, I've never really played a lot of Monster Hunter games. There's been a few times I've kind of delved in. I played Monster Hunter Rise with some friends here and there, but I've never really gotten too far into the Monster Hunter series. I've always been more of a Dragon's Dogma kind of guy. I love Dragon's Dogma 1, and of course played a ton of Dragon's Dogma 2. So when I saw this originally at Summer Games Fest, I was very excited because the gameplay seemed like it had been kind of changed over time from the original Monster Hunter into a more well-rounded game that anyone could pick up and play. And I can tell you guys right now, even if you don't have a history with Monster Hunter, Monster Hunter Wilds is a great game for anyone and everyone out that loves action RPGs. So as I said, I don't really have a big history with Monster Hunter Wilds, but I can tell you guys this, I have played Monster Hunter games before in the past, and I somewhat enjoyed my experience. So I went into this thinking, okay, this is a new game. There's no games before this. This is a new experience for me to take on as somebody that's never played really big in Monster Hunter games, and I really enjoyed my experience with this game. In total, I think I've played about 40 hours worth of the game so far, and I've really gotten into this game, and I can't wait until it launches in just a few more days so I can play this game with some of my friends on the co-op multiplayer experience. With the story transports players into the Forbidden Lands, a mysterious wilderness that can transform in unexpected ways. This living world is teeming with rugged wildlife adapted to ever-changing climate, including massive monsters that players will take on in action-packed encounters. So with this story, there was quirky aspects of the story, and with your Palico and your guild that you get to play along with, there's many times that there's real serious moments, and of course, really funny moments as well. This is the first Monster Hunter in this series that's been fully voiced in the story as well, and it is a really cool experience. And I guess it's really kind of the best way that I can say that I'm glad that I started with Monster Hunter Wilds, that I really delved into this game first, because it's one of my big pet peeves about games is when the graphical presentation and the gameplay has been really timed into this, great experience, but we don't get any voice acting. It doesn't, to me, I want a game that can just really pull me into this world, and having voice acting just makes the world just feel a lot more alive to me. But one thing that also made me feel a lot more, made this game feel a lot more alive, is the Forbidden Lands, because the Forbidden Lands showcase multiple biomes where the ecosystem changes on a constant basis. With each area that you go to, you're also introduced to a dynamic weather system that can not only affect you, but affect the monsters that you're battling. As I progressed through the game, not only would I strategize my actions depending on the monsters I was hunting, but I would also use the weather and the environment as an additional weapon to help take on some of these crazy monsters I was battling against. And of course, while I'm noticing all this craziness that's going around me with this dynamic weather system and the ecosystems that we're being a part of, facing off against these monsters, that's whenever I really kind of jumped into the gameplay aspects of it and realized how great the weapons and the mechanic system is. You have the focus mode that helps you use focus strikes, and this focus mode actually highlights certain areas of the monsters that have become weak from your attacks. So you can use the focus strikes to attack these certain areas. So after using, for instance, in the dual weapons, I had a demon mode that I could activate. And whenever I activated this demon mode, I did more damage. I was able to really do a lot of damage to certain weak points like their legs or wings or whatever it is I'm facing off against. And then use this focus strike to where I can deal heavy damage, which not only significantly damaged the monsters, but also stunned the monsters. And so what was really cool about this is I didn't know this was part of the game. I didn't know that this was a big focus point. I thought this is something that's always been in Monster Hunter, but it seems like this has really been pushed into more of an intense aspect that makes these battles seem like such a large scale kind of cinematic aspect of hey, you're a hunter that's facing off against this giant monster, and you have really cool ways of taking down these monsters. So there was a lot of times that during these modes I was playing in full-on solo, and I was not playing online. So I would use certain aspects, especially whenever I got to the point of feeling like I needed some help. Using the SOS flare during your quest was such a fantastic thing. In the online lobbies, of course, you can get some of online characters, but in the regular mode, when you use the SOS flare, you actually have temporary aid of like AI players and support hunters that are able to come to you and help you in this mode. And it made the action just so much more kind of streamlined. It seemed like even though I was playing in a offline, quote unquote offline setting, I felt like there were, the world really was alive. And like if I asked for help, the system was set up to where I can easily call for help with these SOS flares. But it was a really fascinating experience, because as I'm playing this, I'm realizing that not only is the world and these monsters and the weaponry just a telltale sign of how Capcom has really expanded a lot of their games into just breathtaking worlds. It was also just the environment and the graphical presentation of this game that really pulled me in. During these moments, I did what I always do as well and decided to explore the areas, not just for the hunting aspect or additional assets, but to look at the sprawling world that Capcom has built in game. As a gamer that just loves to get lost into these worlds, I can tell you that with Monster Hunter Wilds, this is one of the most visually stunning open world games that Capcom has devised in quite some time. No matter where I went or what monster I was trying to track down and hunt or quest I was doing, I was honestly just shocked how great this game looked. There's such a focus on games now being in full-on 4K, 60 frames per second, and I can't say that's the experience that I had on my PlayStation 5, but what I can say is that even though it wasn't always a 4K experience or always right at 60 frames per second, the world that Capcom has built in this game really pulls you in. The small details, the sprawling aspects and types of monsters that are just out and about traveling through the world, the smaller monsters, the quests, little side quests, the voiced over characters that really kind of pull you in and make this story something that you care about. It was just such a great experience from start to finish. The music, the graphics, the gameplay is honestly just a really stellar experience. Now, I can say there were a good couple of times that I'm facing off against like in-game monsters and some other aspects of the game that either it was almost, at times it was almost, sometimes it was too difficult, and then sometimes it was too easy. So it did kind of frustrate me at times, because I would face off against one monster and it'd be somewhat of an easy experience, and then the next monster, even though of course it is a larger scale monster or something that I haven't faced off against before, I'm using the same exact tactics that I would use in the previous battle, while also trying to change my tactics depending on where I'm at and what damage is best to use against some of these monsters. And there were times that I went down a good couple of times, so I would have to, instead of being able to single-handedly take on these characters, I would have to use SOS flares and get support characters in there. But there was also a few times that my SOS characters, or the support characters, support hunters, there were 2 times while playing the game that my support hunters actually ended up killing the monster before I even got a chance. I would end up dying and being respawned back at my camp, or my pop-up camp, and then running back to the area and going to face off the monster that I was just taking on that already had previous damage. And then 2 times actually I had a NPC support hunter that ended up killing the monster before I killed the monster. So, and to me that almost made it feel like at times that maybe the scaling or maybe the difficulty was not set as high as it should have been set for certain monsters. Because if an NPC support hunter can just come in and just, hey, I'm gonna whack-a-mole this dude until he dies, then to me, that it kind of did take me out at times. But what is great about the game is, of course, the upgrading system that you can do as you face off against these Dogoma and, you know, many of these other monsters. You're able to use their wool and their skin and stuff to upgrade your character, upgrade your armor, your weapons, and there's a ton of different weapons. A lot of these weapons were previously used in the previous Monster Hunter games. But with this, there's a lot of new additions, of course, with, you know, the new training area, the ability of being able to sharpen your weapon as you're on the go, and of course the environmental changes as well. And it really just makes this a dynamic experience from start to finish. Now, as I said, guys, this is not going to be a review that really spoils a lot. If you are a big Monster Hunter fan, I'm sorry if this is not the review for you, but I'm going to easily say it and put it in the most simplest terms. Having the dynamic aspects of this map continuously changing, having no loading screens, being able to go from one area to another, and it literally changes the environment with just certain paths that you go. You go from a desert area to more swampy area to a more volcanic area. It actually feels like a really unique world as you're going. Having your guild with you as well and being able to easily upgrade your weapons and armor as you're on the go was actually something that I didn't expect to be such a utilization on my part. And I'm telling you, it comes in handy so much. But of course, some of the biggest guild members that you cannot forget about are your Sacred and your Palico. Your Palico comes in clutch so many times in these battles to where you're low health and your Palico flies in with health or flies in with certain little attacks, or even puts out these little vocal punches of like, come on, you ugly piece of crap. You know, it kind of gets you pumped up. But of course, your Sacred as well. As playing this game, there's so many times that I was switching back and forth with the weapons of my duelist weapons or my gun, and being able to utilize these weapons while on the back of my Sacred, while also utilizing, you know, these jump attacks from my Sacred to the monsters. It was such just a unique gameplay style and gameplay mechanic that really came in handy so many times in the game, and I didn't even realize that was going to be such a heavy focal point. But it really helps having such a great gameplay mechanic that is supportive to the player and supportive to the environment and the gameplay style. So I'm going to tell you guys this right out, plain and simple. This is a home run. Plain and simple. One of the best, I would say one of the best open world action RPGs that is on the market today. It feels so good from start to finish. And yes, there's moments, of course, in the story you're like, oh my God, it's so corny. Oh my God, you know, these little comic bits. But that's what makes it great. It's such a serious world at so many times when you're changing environments constantly and facing off against these massive monsters and smaller monsters and medium monsters and unique battles and side quests and main quest lines. And it's such a unique experience that everyone can just jump in and enjoy. It feels like the return of such a classic style of gaming, to where I was able to jump into this world and just heavily get engrossed into the story, the gameplay, the graphics. Everything about Monster Hunter Wild just screams an E for everyone game. And I mean that in the perspective that no matter your style of play, no matter what games you've played previously, it would not shock me if you've never even played this style of game or style of action RPG, and you jump in and just have one hell of a time from start to finish. So as I said, guys, such a great experience. One of the better Capcom titles to come out in recent years. And there's so much more to come with this game, with new monsters coming, new updates coming to the game, and of course, when the game launches on the 28th, being able to play this with friends. That's one of the biggest things about this game that I think is going to be such a major selling point for this title. So with that said, we are going to give this a 5 out of 5. Big shout out to Capcom for making such a fantastic game and bringing this experience to everyone, rounding the game out to where they're like, let's get it to where everybody can play this game, but veterans of the series will also appreciate these upgraded aspects. Thank you so much for everything you guys do, and thank you so much for watching this video. Please make sure to check back soon for another review and some great gameplay content coming soon. We'll talk to you later. Peace out.